What's up, everybody? Welcome back to our Kratom Addiction and Recovery Daily Devotional series. So we're still in our study in Job this week, and we have been getting into some really cool poetic parts of this book that I love so much. And today we're going to be in Job 31 verses 5 through 34. So it's going to be a longer reading as well today. And this isn't going to be as lighthearted in a way as yesterday. There's going to be, some tougher stuff in this, but I hope that we're able to look at it and gain some value from it in our processes. If I have walked with falsehood, or my foot has hurried after deceit, let God weigh me in honest scales, and he will know that I am blameless. If my steps have turned from the path, if my heart has been led by my eyes, or if my hands have been defiled, then may others eat what I have sown, and may my crops be uprooted. If I have denied the desires of the poor, or let the eyes of the widow grow weary, if I have kept my bread to myself, not sharing it with the fatherless, but from my youth I reared them as a father would, and from my birth I guided the widow. If I have seen anyone perishing for lack of clothing, or the needy without garments, and their hearts did not bless me, for warming them with the fleece from my sheep. If I have raised my hand against the fatherless, knowing that I had influence in court, then let my arm fall from the shoulder, let it be broken off at the joint. For I dreaded destruction from God, and for fear of his splendor I could not do such things. If I have put my trust in gold, or said to pure gold, you are my security, if I have rejoiced over my great wealth and the fortune my hands had gained, if I have regarded the sun in its radiance, or the moon moving in its splendor, so that my heart was secretly enticed and my hand offered them a kiss of homage, then these also would be the sins to be judged, for I would have been unfaithful to God on high. If I have rejoiced at my enemy's misfortune, or gloated over the trouble that came to him, I have not allowed my mouth to sin by invoking it, or allowed my mouth to sin by invoking a curse against their life. Then let it be known, let it be known. So this is Job really taking a hard look at himself. And we have talked about this before, that in our addiction and recovery processes, there comes a time where we have to take a hard look at ourselves. And I like how Job said this, where he's searching his heart, and he's really grappling for things that he may have done that maybe he didn't realize that he did. And so I think that we can find value in this. In the 12-step program, one of the steps is taking what they call a fearless moral inventory of ourselves and our lives and the things that we've done and the way that we've treated others. And though I don't vibe with the 12-step programs too much, I've talked about it before, I still have gained a lot of valuable stuff from their program and different aspects of the steps. And this can help us in different ways when we're coming out of addiction. So, when we're in our addictions, I don't know about you guys, but for me, I just, kind of made a mess of things. Our addictions take over our lives and our perspectives and what we focus on, and it really becomes the most important thing to us at the end. And when this happens, things like relationships, things like having personal integrity with the people around us and what our relationships are like, things like, I don't know, different stuff. I can't think of other examples to illustrate it on a interpersonal level. So we'll just go with that today, where things like that fall to the wayside. And basically, when we are in our addictions, it becomes very easy for us to basically make a mess of ourselves and our relationships and our lives too. Here's another illustration, maybe not interpersonally with relationships, but things like, paying off debt, paying even our bills on time, you know, taking care of different things financially, like all of this stuff starts to fall to the wayside. And when we come out of our addictions, for a lot of us, we find ourselves in this place where we've made a mess of things. And what Job is doing right now, and Job was blameless in God's eyes, obviously we're not blameless, but what Job is doing and what we can take an example of with these verses that we're reading is that, Job is taking this moral inventory of himself, where he is looking at, the different things, the different interactions that he has had. He's looking at, like, if I ever, put my wealth before you, God, if I ever like looked at the sun and the moon in their splendor, I love this part. If I regarded the sun in its radiance, or the moon moving in splendor, so that my heart was secretly enticed and my hand offered them a kiss of homage, then these also would be sins to be judged, for I would have been unfaithful to God on high. How beautiful is that? I got into astrology like super hard when I was in the New Age, and like I was, like what Job is questioning about himself, I was like worshiping the planets and the sun and the moon and, all of that sort of crap. And like, so like there comes a time, the point of like what we're talking about is there comes a time, and wherever it is, sometimes it's super painful when we're in our addiction or in the early part of our recovery process to do this. It's so painful, dude. Like, to look at the things that we've done, the ways that we've hurt other people, the ways that we've made a mess of our lives, and to, be ready to take the steps that we need to make it right. It's really hard. It took me, I was about almost 2 years in when I did that. And I reached out to the people that I knew that I had wronged in my addiction when I was struggling, and like the things that I had said to people. And, that's when I made the efforts to make it right. And so that's the point of today. You may not be ready to take that moral inventory. And, with the 12 steps, it says a fearless moral inventory, because that's really what it takes, you guys, is like to go into it, because it sucks, it's hard, but to look at it fearlessly, with the help of God, and, take this inventory of ourselves and our lives. If you're not ready to do that, that's totally cool. The time will come. But, when it gets to that point, like the whole point of it too is that like, it's amazing when we do this. This is for our better good, when we look at ourselves and we take this inventory and we search our souls and we reach out to the people who have hurt us or that we have hurt, whatever it is for our better good, because as we move forward in sobriety, and this is why it's a part of the steps, that a burden is lifted off of us when we do this. When we just like, put in the work. It's hard. It's so hard, you guys, to do this. But when we do it, what happens is that burden is lifted off of us. And a lot of times that burden is what will drive a lot of us to use, because it creates pain, it creates resentment, it creates guilt, it creates shame. And those are the makings that make us want to use and make us want to numb it and push it aside and not think about it, not think about what we've done. So that when we move forward in this process, we can move forward lighter and free from the resentments and the pain and the burden that we were carrying from these things. So it's all for our better good. And so that's the point of today. Like, there's value in being real in this process by taking this hard look at ourselves. And there's value in being real with others and going to people authentically and taking accountability for the things that we've done. So that's the message for today. And I know that it's not easy, but you guys, it is so good when you get through it and you're able to move forward freer and lighter from all of those burdens that we carry from the things that have happened before. So I encourage you to think about that this weekend if you want to. I know it's heavy. If not, all good. But we're going to pick up next week where we are going to be breaking down, because we've been in Job where he's talking to his friends. There's this dialogue going back and forth, and we've been extracting these little nuggets of wisdom and like thinking about them and how they apply to our lives. But next week is we're going to get into where that conversation has wrapped up between Job and his friends. And now Job is at the point where he is crying out to God and he is asking God for answers. And God does respond to him. And it is so beautiful. It is like, I think it's 2 chapters and just like verses upon verses upon verses. I have it printed. Do I have it in front of me? No, I don't. It's like, I don't even know how many verses, like so beautiful, just the most beautiful poetic expression of like who God is and what he's about and what he does. And we're going to be going deep with this, you guys. And I get it if you're not into that artsy, like poetry stuff. I totally get it. Drop back in maybe when we wrap up the study. But that's what it's going to be looking like. And I think we're going to wrap it up next week. But it may, depending on how long it takes us to do like the conclusion, it may go into the beginning of the following week. So I'm so stoked to get into it with you guys, because this is like, it's my favorite part in the Bible. I will say it. I say I love all these different verses, but hands down, this is my favorite part in the Bible. And it goes after Job into Psalms, which is like my other just like tried and true. Love it so much. And last time I gave the option of like what study we were going to do next for people to give their feedback on. But this time we're going to just go into Psalms because it's what follows Job. And it's a really great thing. It's a really great book to follow with after Job. And I'm still thinking about it, and I'm almost 100% decided, but I would like to do a specific study, and we might just do this next because it is in the Psalms. I think it's Psalm 77. I have to double check it, but it is this beautiful psalm that goes into what it's like to lament before God, which is something that we've been touching on pretty frequently throughout our studies. And I read this amazing book, you guys, and I think I'm going to interweave it into the study. You know what? I'm just going to say it because I keep saying I think, and I've been thinking about it, and this is what we're going to do because I think it's going to be really valuable for a lot of you guys. I read this amazing book. If you'd like to get it on Amazon, do it. It's, I think, pretty cheap. If you need any help getting the book, hit me up and we can probably get one for you. But the name of this book is No More Faking Fine, and it's by Esther Fleece, Esther, and her last name is spelled Fleece. And why we're going to do this study and why we're going to weave this book into it is because this book is about her study of this this chapter in Psalms. And she goes into this, it's just this amazing book where she had a really hard childhood, really, really rough upbringing, really unhealthy parents. And she hit this point in her life where she couldn't fake it anymore with God. She always loved the Lord, but she hit this point where she couldn't fake it anymore with God. And she started to kind of have this like whole reckoning where she had to like get real with God. And it involved some really hard times for her. And the name of the book is No More Faking Fine. And like the marrow of it is that like she, in one of her darkest moments where she was not okay anymore, she opened up her Bible to Psalm 77, I think is what it was. I have to double check it, but it talks about lamenting before the Lord, and she had never done that before. And lamenting is a passionate expression of grief. And so through that, she, got right with God and found this deeper level of intimacy with the Lord. And the reason why we're also going to be doing this is not only to like get into that whole aspect of it and how it applies to addiction and recovery, but also because a lot of you have talked about how in your addiction and recovery process that you're dealing with a lot of PTSD type stuff and traumas that you went through when you were growing up or thereon after, and how when we start going into recovery, it's like the wet blanket that is kratom that we throw over our lives and our minds and all of our problems so that it just kind of like weighs it down and dampens them, and like, we don't have to look at them straight on. When we pull off that wet blanket that is our kratom addiction, it is very raw when we start to uncover these traumas, these abuses, these different things that we have gone through throughout our lives. And it is now, I thought it was just me that was going through it, but I've now heard from multiple people that you're also going through it too. So this is going to be, not only like getting real with God and going into the purpose of lamenting, but we're also going to start to go into, what it's like to go through addiction and recovery with traumas, complex trauma, PTSD, all of that stuff, because I've learned so much, and I think that you guys will too as we go through this study, and it will hopefully help you to navigate as you're going through your recovery, different ways that you can handle these traumas as you start to have to face them, head on after your addiction. So sorry to take up like half this video talking about what's going to come up in the next study, but I'm just giving you a little bit of a heads up. We are going to take a slight break in between the studies to just regroup and give me the chance to like get everything ready for the next study. So just giving you a little, heads up, we're at the end of this week. Next week, we're going to finish up Job. It might go into the beginning of the second week, we'll see. But thereon after a short, probably week break, we'll start our study in Psalms. And we're also going to be interweaving that book, No More Faking Fine, into the study. So I'm super stoked to get into that with you guys. If you have any questions about that, please feel free to hit me up, or if you want me to, if you want us to help you get a book, we can totally do that too. So I love you guys. This was a big one today, and I know that we are putting in all the information about the next study, so I apologize about that, but just filling you in. All right, love you guys. I will see you on Monday for our devotional, but tomorrow we're going to be doing our phases of kratom addiction recovery. All right, love you guys. Bye.